Smells like a tavern now.
I'm ready. I'm sorry.
All right, so you guys are sitting at a table in the Wilted Lily Inn. The inn common room is shaped in an L type pattern with the fireplace kind of offset in the corner. And you guys are kind of around the dog leg of the L, kind of in the back area where there's like several empty tables and everything. While many of the patrons that are here in the inn in the afternoon are kind of sitting near the door, kind of around where the bar and everything is located at. So you guys kind of went around to the far side of it. The fire is crackling nicely in the fireplace, giving off a lot of warmth, which is nice considering that you guys are drenched from crawling around in the freezing, icy cold seawater of the caves that you were at, and then of course trying to escape the storm on the fishing vessel. Some of you fell into the water, but managed to escape the sharks and get back on board. But here you are, just kind of perusing the items. You know, you divvy out your magical items that you found. You divvy up gold, and then you begin to discuss the various other items that you have acquired. You have the coral box that is filled with pearls. You have the strange glowing tablet, which I'm assuming is currently put away somewhere. And then the wine and the bolts of silk. But food has been brought to your table, and you guys are just kind of relaxing. It is about mid-afternoon, as you guys had left very early in the morning to go to the island and have now returned.
Alright.
Well, if we're looking to sell the merchandise, we're in a tavern.
They said they buy stuff in the tavern, you say?
Well, we have wine.
Oh, true. I have my 5 bottles in my backpack. So
4.5.
4.5. Excuse me. Drink.
You're being generous that she didn't drink more.
We could offer them
Optimistic.
some at a discount if you guys don't need it, or
Discount. Making money. For trips. For treasure.
And considering you got it for free,
True.
it's all profit.
Well, I'm not.
Third step.
I'm not willing to give up my bottles. So if you guys want to sell yours, you can keep those profits. This is good wine.
No ship for you.
I'm gonna make my money for my ship. I'm gonna go stand by the fire a little bit and
Spoken like a true
warm up a
secretary.
little bit.
She will have
I'm
her
almost
drink
dry
and
probably
drink
because
it.
I'm just in.
Yeah, you're
Robes,
kind of light clothing
Yeah.
and everything.
But I'm gonna go dry off all the way.
Okay. As you approach the fireplace, and it's a river rock style fireplace, probably stones dredged up out of the marsh itself, and kind of built up in a kind of a semicircular shape for the opening for the fire and everything. And there's a couple of hefty logs in there crackling away. As you are warming your hands, you look above the hearth and you see there is a rather odd plaque that sits up above the hearth, and it reads, "To Eskin Lily, from the Almighty Light of Calmore, for faithful service." And it's kind of etched in a bronze plaque. It looks a little old and kind of worn. And it just kind of sits up there, and then of course above that is some antlers for a rather large elk.
Do I recognize the names on the plaque?
You do not, because you haven't really learned what the name of the innkeeper or very many people in town. You know the name of the ship's captain, which was Sean McGillicuddy. His 2 grandsons, Danny and Finn, were working on the ship. You know that there is a scribe in town called Old Morty. But beyond that, you really don't know any of the townsfolk for the most part. The name of the inn is the Wilted Lily. So, and with the last name with the name being Eskin Lily, you could assume that it could potentially be the inn owner, or perhaps some relative.
Take note of it and maybe remember to ask the innkeeper his name next time you go up there. Ask him about the sign. Because
Okay.
I'm sure if it's an award, it's something he's proud of and he's displayed it. And
Perhaps. Okay. So, what are the rest of you guys doing as she warms herself by the fire?
I'm going to pull out my 2 bolts of silk and kind of start figuring out a way to dry those off too.
I'm just gonna start running a
Unrolling.
clothesline in the inn.
No, just like set them by the fire and then sit and talk with her.
Okay.
If you want, I can dry those with a spell. Silk is highly flammable.
It's fair.
Okay. So I'll cast Prestidigitation on each of the
Okay.
bolts of fabric and dry
All
them
right.
out.
So you dry them out, and then with the second casting of the spell, you can
Make
clean
the second bolt.
clean it. I mean, it'll take a couple of different castings. It
Yeah.
is a lot of cloth to clean up,
But
and
it's still faster than drawing a line.
and it's magically cleaned.
So I'll go through and I'll start working on the rest of the bolts. Because I think there was, 6 bolts total?
Yeah.
So,
6 bolts that you guys have, or
Total.
okay.
All right. So you approach the monk as she's warming herself by the fire. Kara, right?
oh, got my elephant.
So, I know we haven't spoken much, but just to formally introduce myself again, Callista. So, I'm trying to kind of become part of this group that you guys are forming here. I don't know, it's something different, but I want to try something different.
so you're used to the less reputable kind of folk, like the people who've been scamming.
Yeah, those were my previous friends.
Were they your friends, or did you just kind of?
They were friends. They're not necessarily good people, but they're good friends.
Okay. How long have you been traveling around with them?
Not too long. I mean, haven't been here for too long, but
Where were you before here?
just kind of all over. Definitely back at home. Diora. Double check.
Have I ever been there in my travels?
You have stopped into Diora like for a very brief period in one of the port towns, and it was very unique. And it was basically like visiting an old cemetery in a lot of ways. The buildings are kind of cold, gray stone for the most part, or any of the wooden buildings are kind of weathered and aged, and kind of taking on that kind of grayish hue that wood takes as it ages.
The food was bland.
The food isn't overly flavorful, but for the most part, you were treated well by the merchants. You didn't really see anything specifically that kind of lends itself to the various tales and everything that you've heard of Diora, with the numerous walking dead and infernal allegiances and things that seem to plague the hierarchy of the kingdom. But for the most part, you just kind of kept to the dock areas where you saw mostly, well, other travelers like yourself.
Yeah. I don't know too much of Diora. I liked what I saw of it. It's a little bit gloomy for my taste.
It's definitely an acquired taste. Just as is the lifestyle that I had led before this. So I understand if you guys are wary of me, but I just wanted to kind of get on better terms.
I appreciate that. It seems like we make a good group and can have many more adventures if we choose to do so.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we all have different motives, but we all seem to get along well enough to come together to complete things.
As long as the motives are
Pure of heart.
Pure of heart. Definitely.
At this point, you see the door to the inn swing open, and you see a figure kind of enter into the kind of crowded room, making their way through the little bit of a crowd that's kind of gathered there at the front of the inn, where the various patrons are kind of getting their either an early dinner or a late lunch. Some of the locals that you've seen in here a handful of times that are basically here just to pass the time and swap fishing stories and everything. But this figure has the kind of the oiled canvas rain tarp on with the hood pulled up, and has a wicker basket kind of carrying on their back, kind of like with straps, kind of like you would a backpack. But it's got a lid, and the lid is tied off on it. You can't really make out the features of this person, but they're not overly tall, about 5'6" or so. Not very large of frame, but walks with a very steady stride across the room. And you see some of the people kind of part a little bit and kind of give them a kind of a curious glance, but then they just kind of go on about their various discussions and everything. And he goes over, and as he approaches the innkeep, he throws back his hood, and you see that it is a young man, a young boy, maybe about 14 or 15 years of age. Fairly handsome in his overall features, yet to really grow into his form, but he has kind of the general pale skin of the area, as it tends to be a little cloudy and rainy here in this particular region. So his skin is kind of fair, but he does have the marked kind of sun-kissed look of somebody that spends a lot of time outdoors. Even though there's not a lot of sun, he definitely sees the sun that is out there. His hair, though, is a little bit different from what you've seen of the local people. Most of the locals here have tendency to have dirty brown or light blonde or blonde hair. Auburn, red is also fairly common as far as like the hair tones and everything for the area. But this kid's hair is a very slick, raven black hair, very straight, kind of cut short in its overall, except for on the top is kind of like a little bit of a mop that he's kind of got brushed off over to the side. It's a little damp, so it's just kind of clinging to the side of his head. His eyes are very orangish brown color, kind of like autumn leaves, which also is a bit unusual, as most of the people here are brown, hazel, or green in eyes. But his eyes seem almost unnatural in their coloration, very unusual. But he steps up to the innkeep, and he's like, Master Eskin. He kind of pulls the basket off his shoulder and tosses it up there. I have for you a very splendid selection of brambleberry root. And he kind of pulls the lid off, and you see these chunks of kind of a reddish orange root. Kind of looks like sweet potatoes. Kind of has that coloration to them. It's very knotted and twisted chunks of these roots that are kind of bulbous and potato-like in their overall structure. And the innkeep kind of looks at him. He's like, kind of picks it up. He's like, oh, wow. This is a pretty good batch. He's like, I have another one in the cart outside. I would like to sell these to you so that you can feed them to your customers. You won't find another batch of bramble roots like this anywhere from any of these local farmers. This is grown wild. I have harvested it from the marsh itself. You won't find anything better. And Keep kind of looks at it, kind of picks through it. He's like, it is a good bunch. I tell you what, I'll give you a gold piece for the entire bushel. And the boy kind of looks at it, thinks for a second. I won't take anything less than 3. It's a lot of work going into the marsh. And the Kip kind of looks at him. 2. And the boy is like, 2 gold. 2 gold a bushel, and you buy both. And the innkeeper's like, all right. So so the kid leaves the basket of roots there and goes back outside, and he opens up the door and he's like, go ahead, bring them in. At this point you see a young girl, very much similar to the young man that came in initially, with the long raven black hair, kind of the pale skin, but she's much younger. You would say that she's probably no more than somewhere between 10 and 12. Not quite a teen yet, you would say. Still quite young. But she has one striking feature that kind of sets her apart from her brother, and that's the fact that she has one autumn gold kind of colored eye like he has, and then one that's the same color as like the leaves in spring, just this like really bright green eye. And when she walks in, the entire inn gets very quiet, and you hear some people whispering and everything. And she kind of drags the heavy basket in, and her brother kind of takes it off of her back and everything. He's like, have a seat, I'll get you some food while we're here. And the girl's like, okay. And she goes over and she kind of looks around and doesn't really see an empty spot until she looks over kind of near where your guys' table is at, as most of the patrons of the inn are kind of in that front section. So she kind of bounces her way around over to a table not far from the fireplace where you're at, kind of between the fire pit and the table where the rest of you guys are sitting at. She kind of pops down on a chair and she pulls out a kind of a very homely looking rag doll with kind of yarn hair and all that kind of stuff, and she just kind of begins straightening its hair out and everything and messing with its clothes while sitting at a table.
What's some of the whispers going around? Can I make a perception check to see if I can hear anybody?
Sure.
Well, you're not going tonight. 5.
They are faint enough and far enough away that you can't really make out anything that's being said.
Okay.
But as the boy concludes his business, and the innkeep gives him the 4 gold for both of the baskets of roots. Why are you laughing?
Because he said I won't take less than 3, and then the innkeeper paid 4. And that was funny to me.
Did he throw in the food too for free?
Yeah. Well, he was offering 3, or wanted 3 for the bushel.
No,
he
but
sold
what he said
both
was
bushels.
3 gold for both bushels.
No.
Because he said a gold. He said I'll pay you a gold for each one. The guy said I won't take less than 3.
Okay.
Anyway, he got 4 gold, and it's funny to me. Carry on.
Anyway. Anyway, he gets his gold, and he comes over and he sits down at the table with the girl. And soon the bouncy little barmaid that you know is the daughter of the innkeep kind of comes bouncing along, throws down a platter with some various stew and some bread and stuff, things that are basically leftovers from the lunchtime meal. And she kind of looks over at the doll and she's like, that's a cute doll you have there, Tessa. And the girl's like, thank you, I've had it for quite some time, it's a good luck charm. Alright. She kind of the barmaid kind of tousles her hair a bit and then bounces back over to deal with the numerous customers that are near the front of the inn. At this point, you also hear a loud crack of thunder as the storm outside begins to get a little bit worse.
How far are they from me from the
Fireplace.
fireplace?
No more than about 5-6 feet from you.
Okay.
Their table, she's basically sitting with her, kind of her back kind of towards you. Basically her back towards the fire to get warm.
Okay. I've just been standing there drinking my wine, watching all of this, being nosy. Is that what you do in bars? You just watch
Pretty much.
everything and overhear everything?
Especially in small towns. That's
Okay.
completely acceptable.
So I'll just kind of raise my glass to him and say, those are some nice brambleberry roots you brought in.
And the boy kind of looks at you, is like, You fond of brambleberry root?
I am. I travel all around and eat lots of different foods, and I've had some good. What would you put those in?
They basically
French
kind
fries.
of, they're here. You've seen it on the menu
Mhm.
as far as like something that you can get as a pub food. Basically, it's like cut into essentially French fries type finger foods.
Okay.
And
And
cut
in
into
Kirin,
sticks
they
and
make
everything.
them into tempura.
So, well, I would. I mean, probably in my travels, I stay in a lot of different inns and
Oh,
pubs,
tempura.
and so. You said it was. Where do you get those good roots from around here?
He just kind of gives you a little bit of a smile. He's like, "That's my secret."
Well, I heard you say swamp. I'm not from here, so I don't know I am from here. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, not from
Not
this
from this
particular
town.
town.
Yeah, I'm not from this town. I just was wondering where you get stuff like that. I'm not interested in stealing your business. I'm an adventurer.
Well, if you want to buy some, I'll be more than happy to go out and get you some. But I'm not giving up my secret. This particular inn is known for its ears
I understand.
and loose lips.
I understand. I'll make sure to try some when they cook them up.
So how far is it from our table to where Tessa and the boy are sitting?
One table over.
So there's a table between the two of us?
Just a small one.
Okay. I'll lean over so that I'm leaning towards him, and I'll say, "Boy, where you got the roots? Was that from the swamp? You said."
Yeah, the whole town is surrounded by the marsh.
Obviously. Was it anywhere near the tower?
And at that point, Tessa just kind of looks at you. And you feel weird because she's looking at you, but you feel that you're being scrutinized more intently by her odd green eye. And then she just kind of goes back to her doll and everything. And the boy's like, "No, we don't go too close to the tower."
Have you ever seen the blue light?
Yeah. It's passed by the front of my house a couple of times.
So you live in this one, on the edge of town?
Yeah, on the outskirts of town.
It was just a light?
Well, it's far enough out. I didn't exactly see the need to risk my life to go out and see if I could catch it. Some of these foolish kids around here do that.
I'd be like, farmers. Enjoy your meal. Sit back down and start pouring over my spellbook.
Okay.
Do they look like they might be fey touched in some way?
They definitely don't look like they belong in the area. I mean, they have basic facial structure and the skin tones and everything that kind of marks them as being local. But there is enough oddities to them that makes them stand out from the crowd. And the boy kind of looks at you. Sorry. Liam.
Kara. I can say my own name. I've been drinking wine. Good wine. You want some?
No, thank you. I have a long trip back home.
Oh, how far is your home?
About 2 miles from here.
Well, it's a pretty stormy night. You're gonna be okay getting back?
Shouldn't be too bad. It rains here a lot. The winds don't bother me too much. Besides, the hog pulls the cart.
A hog pulls your cart.
There's very few better animals to trek your gear through a marsh than something that happens to like the mud.
Has hog
That makes lots of sense.
Don't forget to put that in your notes.
Take another drink of my wine. I'm gonna go finish my food, but it's nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you.
I'll go pop down across from this one.
Small towns and simple folk.
Hey, it's the small towns and simple folk that keep everything running. It would be wise to treat them with kindness.
I haven't been on the receiving end of many farmers' kindness, so I had to pay for everything I eat.
Well, they pay in hard work and backbreaking work at that.
Good for them.
I'm gonna kind of lean over and speak with.
Speak up, the camera can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna lean over and kind of speak with the girl and be like, "Oh, it's a nice doll you have there. Did someone make that for you?
My mom.
Oh. Is she fond of sewing?
She was.
I see. Do you guys travel often?
She's like, no, we don't really go very far. I mean, we spend most of our time in the marsh itself. My brother, he knows the marsh better than anybody here in town. He knows all of the best places to harvest wild bramble root and the bramble berries, and then of course the various wildflowers and herbs that are popular with the local herbalist.
So you're more of gatherers than farmers.
In a sense.
I see.
And Liam just kind of like silently kind of picks around at his food and eats it. He makes very brief eye contact with you, but
Does she get the creepy eye look too?
she doesn't actually look directly at you. She's just kind of messing with her
So
doll and
fun.
just kind of talking to you. It's not so much that she's playing with it, it's almost like she's cleaning it in a way. Basically, she brushes it off, straightens it clothes, spends a lot of time undoing like knots and stuff that is kind of tangled in the hair and everything.
So, do you know anything about the light?
Yeah, it's the woman. Stay away from the woman. She's not good.
Suddenly interested again. Letting her do the talking.
Do you want to talk about the woman,
And Liam's like, kind of, and Tessa's like, oh, sorry, we try not to talk about the woman.
or I see. I understand. I'll leave you two to your food then.
And she hasn't actually eaten any of the food in front of her. And Liam kind of finally reaches over and just kind of like pushes the bowl in front of her, and she's like, very nicely sets the doll down and very, very fast eats her food and then goes back to her doll.
I'm gonna come back to the table and kind of speak a little bit low so that they're not necessarily able to hear. So they mentioned a woman with the light, but they seem to avoid speaking of it any more than that. I think it was a slip of the tongue.
Well, the tower was inhabited by, there was a man and his wife,
Precisely.
and then he died and she went crazy, if I remember correctly.
But they were speaking
The
of
story that you got. She basically got old and senile.
So they were speaking of the light, and the woman supposedly was gone, but now I asked about the light, and they mentioned the woman, so that's a bit interesting.
If she passed, it could be a specter of her still haunting the area.
That's if she passed. She could have just gone completely insane and taken on some sort of new form due to her insanity.
If she was magically inclined, I guess that's a possibility.
What else did we know about the tower?
We don't know much. We haven't spoken to old Morty.
That's right. We needed to go to the.
Yeah, you hadn't really talked to Morty. You got a story about the woman was a wizard. Her and her husband lived there. He died, She lived on for a few years after that, slowly getting more older and more senile.
They never come out of their tower though.
Yeah, she never left her tower, and they rarely left before he died.
And I think we just decided that the shipwreck was more of a time-sensitive matter. So
And is
Yeah,
there
the tower's
treasure
not
in the
going
tower?
What's that?
Is there treasure in the tower?
That we don't know yet. We're assuming so. She was
but people don't go there because of the specter.
Mm-hmm.
So any treasure that is there may be undisturbed.
Well, specifically, people don't go there because the last group of people that went there
Didn't come back.
didn't come back. They sent a search party for them and found. And they came back with stories of weird plant creatures and stuff
That's right.
in the.
In the moat.
I don't know about you guys. I'm not ready to go to the tower yet. I need to sleep.
I think we should take a rest, but before that, could we perhaps sell some of our
I mean, it is
goodies?
just in the afternoon, so like yes, we're battered and worn from our excursion, but we could definitely find something out and
We could
kind
go
of head to the
it
tower
one morning.
tomorrow.
So I'll kind of like lean into the group now that she's back at the table and just kind of whisper, we may look into the option of hiring that boy to guide us to the tower. Swamps each have their own dangers.
Yeah.
He might know the safest path to get to it.
It
And
seems
with
that-
enough gold, you may be willing to brave the danger.
Seems he also knows quite a bit about the flora and fauna of the place.
We still haven't messed with
The tablet, no.
the tablet either. Is that sitting on the table?
No.
I'm going to guess probably not.
Like, this is our glowing dinner platter. So my character doesn't feel gypped out of any magical items because she got a tablet.
Did we figure out what it was written in?
No.
No.
Not common.
Don't you have comprehend languages?
Yeah, but I'm out of spells for the day.
Oh, I just got.
Technically, I could ritual it, but I'm eating. So,
Probably not something you want to do.
Priorities.
yeah.
Well,
Hey.
I think after we finish eating and drinking, I'd like to go talk to Morty. See what he has to say.
I think on our way there we should restock on anything we lost as well, and sell the extra.
True. Well, there's no reason for us all to
We
all
can-
go sell things. I can go talk to Morty, we can go talk to Morty, and you guys can go sell things.
Do you have anything in particular you two would like to get?
No, I can go restock later, but I know you guys want to sell your silk and the pearls.
I just don't want to be carrying around bolts of silk.
That makes sense. They're pretty large. It's a good find, though.
Yeah.
There's lots of treasure down there in those caves. It's well worth the trip.
I just wish I knew how to do something with it.
You can make money with it.
Yeah, that's about
Is-
it.
There can I do a price check on the pearls? Like, what would that be? It's not appraise anymore, is it?
No, there's no appraise.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not really an appraise. It'd just be an intelligence check.
Okay.
Honestly, I would probably give the rogue. I'd allow the rogue to use his proficiency modifier because it's kind of falls into the whole wheelhouse of knowing how much something is worth if you're going to steal it. But beyond
Thief.
that, it's just an intelligence check.
What about with me if I was previously kind of the...
Yeah, same basic
Called
thing.
me a thief. I take nothing from you.
Yes.
You're still
Once
holding on to that box.
How much do you think these pearls are worth each?
These pearls?
Each. Yes. All the pearls that we found.
I'll find out. For intelligence check, you said?
Plus
Yeah.
proficiency.
Alright.
Just
Did
the
the
modifier
tablet
on your
pick up once they
intelligence
sat
score.
down?
Yeah, they're like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus 5.
20 plus
2.
2 here, so 22.
Yeah, each of those, they're not exactly the most resplendent of pearls, but they are worth 10 gold pieces each. The box has approximately 50 pearls in it.
Are we
Funny
like
thing is the coral box would probably be worth more than the pearls themselves.
Would I know what that's worth to, or
Yeah, the box itself is worth about 500 gold.
Oh, Jesus.
That's 1,000 gold worth of stuff right there.
Assuming you can find somebody that has 1,000 gold to buy it.
Yeah.
Not so likely in this particular town.
But at least with... Yeah, I'd probably not want to sell pearls in a coastal town like Bree said earlier before we started, but
Yeah.
the silk would be an easier sell probably.
Yeah, and there's a couple of tailors in town. When you were wandering around the town before the party actually got together, you actually saw a couple of those shops, and there's 2 or 3 tailors in the town.
I wonder if me and Peep would be interested in that line. I wonder how much it's worth.
Is that another role we should do? Who would be best fit?
Honestly, probably your character.
Mine?
Yeah.
Why?
You're the most
Noble.
classy.
Because
Oh, noble.
Yeah.
you're the classiest of us all?
Yeah, right.
It's all classist. So, 12 for intelligence, and then, I don't know.
Does he recognize the vintage?
that'll allow you the same basic principle. It
So-
fits within your background and
So
everything.
14 if we had my proficiency.
It is not a particularly
Renowned
rare vintage of wine, but it is worth an average of about 2 gold a bottle.
2 gold a bottle.
Yeah. Which obviously, if they're selling it at an inn, they'll make more off of it because then they can sell it by the glass.
And we had 19 unopened bottles that weren't claimed by the monk.
That's correct.
Okay. I'm making more money.
Oh yeah, it's sold.
Going to be making more money.
So it's 380 gold worth of wine.
You sure you don't want to sell that one?
How much?
Well,
Hmm?
we have,
It would only be 38 gold, wouldn't it?
did I? 2 gold each?
Yeah, 2 gold each. Huh?
So what?
19
Oh, they're
bottles.
at 38. Yeah, for some reason.
I mean, I like it. There's an extra zero,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it's 38 gold. 2 gold per bottle.
John hasn't had that much to drink yet.
No.
Ever get him drunk before gaming? Look at so much loot. We killed like a herd of kobolds once. We got like 50,000 copper pieces.
Okay, back to this guy.
No, I'll hold on to my
Yeah.
my wine. It's not worth selling to
It's
me.
worth more to you in the bottle.
It's worth more to me drinking.
Less spent at rooms.
Alright, so what are you doing?
I'm going to talk to Morty.
Okay, so you're going to go see Morty. Winsu, what are you doing?
So where?
Well, the quickest thing if we want to sell stuff is the wine to the innkeeper at the current place we're at.
Since I would know what the stuff is kind of worth, I should probably go with them to discuss pricing in the background. Weird bird guy.
I can
Offer you a
always-
price, and the bird guy goes, "No."
So what are you going to do?
So I will go to sell stuff first of them, or well, I'll be taking them around. Who guys going with me to sell stuff?
I believe I would be good at the bartering stuff and kind of upselling the
Luke?
things.
So she's going to go sell stuff. He's going to sell stuff.
Since they've got that down, I actually want to go and
Watch them.
I trust Wensu.
Look at that smile.
No offense, but this guy likes shiny things and wants all the loot. Do you trust him and the one pulling a con to go sell all of our stuff? What if they just skip town?
Or is she
They won't.
or they pay her with particularly shiny copper pieces.
They'll get shiny stuff back. Trust me. I've known Wensu.
Okay.
Alright, so
I actually wanted to buy a new suit of armor.
Okay, so you want to go see the local smith,
Yeah.
and hopefully he could have something
He got a
useful
ding in
to
his
you.
last suit. He doesn't-
It's like, this is unacceptable. Let's go into the Goodwill.
Caliste?
Caliste is going to go with Kara to check out the old man. Not literally check him out, but if he has books, she wants to see them.
To each their own.
True. So, since the closest of the tasks at hand will be talking to the innkeeper about the wine, we'll go ahead and start there. So, the two of you approach the innkeeper with your 19 bottles of kind of dusty wine that's also a little bit caked in mud.
I forgot to clean it.
Can we clean that off first?
I believe I have prestidigitation as well. Yeah, but can I clean that?
So, you guys spend some time. Make sure
Yeah,
the
we go
bottles
to
are
we go to sell it. And we're like, actually, this kind of looks like shit. Let's clean it up a bit. And then we tag team clean it.
Alright, so you approach the innkeeper with 19 bottles of very shiny, brand new looking bottles of wine.
Old wine. Looks
Old
like
wine, but it's in very shiny, clean bottles.
And are you gonna do the talking, or you want me to do the talking? You're the slick one here.
I believe I can try.
Alright, so you approach the innkeep, who is talking to kind of a wrinkly faced older gentleman that kind of sits at the bar next to him.
Smells like fish.
You saw this guy in the inn last night. He's kind of a caricature of a person. His ears are a little overly large and stick out just a little bit. His face is small and very pruny, wrinkly, with kind of an oversized bulbous nose that's very red. He has wispy hair that's kind of combed over, and he wears like a little bit of a cap that kind of sits cocked off to the side of his head a little bit. And he wears what was probably at one time a very fine suit, but it is now very old and moth-eaten. It's got some holes in it. It's kind of threadbare and everything, but he's just got like this big, very toothless smile. You know how when people who haven't had teeth for a while, their chin kind of sinks in? He's like, hey, kind of looks at you. He's like, how you doing?
Well, and you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Name's Sam.
Oh, Sam and Callista. So, what do
He
you
just kind of looks at you. He's like, I've never seen a bird walking around in clothes before.
This is Wensu.
Wensu. It's a good name. Good name. And then the innkeep's like, Sam, shh. Don't mess with the customers. He's like, all right. He goes back to his little glass of whiskey.
So, would
Now
either
Skater.
of you gentlemen be interested in some fine wine that we had found on our adventure?
Wine?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of looks around the group of people here. These aren't exactly wine drinkers around here. Got a lot of people that like their whiskey. They like their nice deep brown ale. Brandy from time to time. But not a lot of wine drinkers. But I tell you what, show me what you got. We'll talk it over.
So I'm going to pull out like one or two of the bottles and just kind of show him. So as you can see, they're pretty nice bottles of wine. They're very fit for drinking, quite. But
He's like, just kind of looks at it.
it's
I'll
also,
take your word for it. Sets it down.
it's, rather strong, so it'll definitely get your people what they want, as far as the heavier whiskey and such.
All right. Hit me with it. What are you asking?
We'd like at least 2 gold pieces a bottle. We have 19.
Two
can
gold a
choose
bottle.
You can
Ugh.
choose to buy as many as you'd like.
Kind of looks it over. He's like, well, I'm not going to buy anything to drink unless we check it. So I tell you what, I'm going on a show of good faith. I'm going to buy 1 bottle from you. He goes over behind the counter and pulls out 2 coins out of a box, slides them across the bar to you, and immediately goes over and pops the cork off the bottle. Kind of sniffs it. He's like,
You're supposed to.
it's wine. Hands it over to Sam. Sam takes it. I prefer my whiskey. Kind of hands it back to the barkeep. Barkeep goes over to a couple of more patrons, and he basically goes around until the bottle is completely gone. And he comes back and he sets the empty bottle down. He's like, all right, got a couple of patrons, said they liked it. I'll take 8 bottles at a gold piece each.
And what do you think, Wensu?
8 bottles?
Take gold.
Make it 10 gold.
10 gold in total for 8 bottles. Alright. Goes under the counter. Counts out 10. Pulls out 1 platinum piece. Slides it across to you.
Alright.
We'll pass him
Give him his 8 bottles.
the other 8 bottles that he.
He goes over and puts them into like a little rack behind the bar. He's like,
I ain't never used a wine rack before.
he's like, tell you what, because we did business, let's have a toast. You see him pull down this like little crystal decanter of kind of a reddish brown liquid, and pours a little bit into these like 3 little like crystal glasses. They're just like the smallest amount into it. Slides them across. Looks over at Sam. He's like, fine, Sam. Pours him a little bit, slides it across, and he's like, to good business.
It's a good business.
And he downs it. And it's actually way tastier than you thought it would be. But then it starts to burn. So it hits you with this kind of a sweet, fruity, really tasty flavor at first, and then your throat just feels like it's on fire.
Poison!
Not poison, Wensu. Very strong ale, I'm sure.
Whiskey, probably.
It's a brambleberry brandy.
Try saying that 10 times fast.
Tastes very good, just very potent.
The Keku does.
Well, when after a while you get used to it, the stuff is expensive. Sells for quite a bit. Locals like it a lot. Mind you, a lot of the locals can make their own. But every once in a while, when we have a particularly good season of brambleberries, we can sell this stuff pretty good to the big cities.
Is it?
Yeah, like 15 gold a bottle.
Oh wow.
It's basically the Patron of whiskeys, basically.
Wow.
Made from berries, you said?
Yep, brambleberries. Only grow here.
Alright.
Would you be interested in brambleberries if we come back with a decent amount?
Honestly, I would. But you're in the wrong season for that.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I tell you what, if you find some, I'll definitely buy them off of you.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Better hope that old lady has store of preserves in her tower.
Do you know of a good place in town that would buy silk?
Silk? Jeb's.
Jeb's?
Yeah. Jeb's Tailor and Haberdashery.
Alright.
He makes some of the finest studs in this here town.
I see. Well, that'll be our next stop. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And come back.
We will.
Most definitely.
I think I've lived. Have I been living in this place with him pretty much for a while?
Yeah, about 2 days now.
Not 2 days.
They
For a
say it's a
while.
long time in bird time.
We've been here forever.
It's getting cold. Time to start flying south.
Oh,
yeah.
your ugly wings.
Shit.
I was about to go molt in the corner.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Sit in the corner with a platinum piece.
Meanwhile, you two get up as they're approaching the innkeeper, and you guys go out to the wind and rain outside, and the sky is definitely dark. You can tell that the sun hasn't set yet, but the clouds are very heavy and dark, and there's just kind of this driving rain with gusts of wind that kind of blow it, and it kind of gets all up in your face and everything. You're not so bothered by it. You're accustomed to the ocean spray and that kind of thing. And you really haven't had an opportunity to get completely dry yet, so might as well take care of this while you're still a little damp. But you make your way down the street, sticking to the wooden walk areas that are basically kind of each storefront has like a wooden walk, sidewalk basically, that kind of runs in front of the store like a little porch, and then there's like little bridges that go between them. Even though the town itself is kind of built up out on kind of an island out of the marsh, the ground when it's wet like this gets really kind of mucky and muddy. So the locals have taken advantage of the fact that they can build these little walkways and everything between the town, so they don't have to
Get muddy.
tramp through it too much.
Yeah.
Also, about this time, you see Liam and Tessa walk out of the inn, and they go over to a pig that's got a little cart tied to it, kind of like hitched up to it, and they kind of undo a lead rope, and Liam picks Tessa up, kind of puts her in the back of it because it doesn't have a tailgate. It's just like a box on wheels. So he picks her up and sets her up in a cart and covers her up with an extra tarp and everything, and begins leading the pig kind of north out of town.
What color is the pig?
It is a black and what you guess is probably white, but it looks mostly gray at this point because it's, well, dingy and dirty. But it's a big old hog, and it just kind of trots along.
I kind of smile to myself because I've never seen something like that. Like, that's kind of funny. And I've had a lot of wine, so. Look at that pig! That pig is pulling that cart.
But he's got a lead rope that he has, but he just kind of taps the pig with this long stick. He's like, psh, 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 and the pig just kind of walks along.
Right. Which direction do they head out of town?
They're going north.
North, okay.
The town itself just kind of runs north to south, with the southern edge of it being where the docks are, and the road that actually leads out of Bramblemarsh into the mainland runs to the north.
Okay.
So it's really the only real road in town. The whole town just basically has this one road that runs kind of down the middle of it. It's just kind of built along the side of it.
Have we come across any constables or
No, you don't
sheriff type
see.
people?
You don't see any town guard or anything, or any of what stand out to you at any rate. And you haven't actually met a constable. Currently, there are not a lot of people out and about, though, with the weather being as it is. Several shops are still open, but you do see that some of the shops are kind of starting to turn their signs and everything. There's just not enough people coming in to warrant remaining open. But you make your way down the sidewalk, and the rain kind of pouring on you until you reach a kind of a side shop. That you can see several books and stuff inside through the window, and in kind of a chipped and kind of worn gold leaf on the window, it says Morty's Bookstore. And you go in, and there's like a little bell that's on a little string, and it goes cling, cling, cling. And you look around, and there's like the smell in here is of old books. Has that kind of musty, almost schoolroom library smell to
Good
it.
smell.
Yeah. And you see this gentleman back behind this counter, and he's got this long gray-white hair that's very, very long and braided in the back in a long braid. He stands very erect. He's currently got a set of silver spectacles, wire rim spectacles, sitting on the end of his rather delicate nose. He's got very delicate features all in all, almost as though he has an elvish heritage, but for what you can tell, he definitely looks to be human. He just has this very kind of delicate features to him. He's older, probably in his late 50s, but he has a very dapper, handsome quality to him as he's just kind of flipping through a book, reading through it. And as you come in, he's like, "Why, hello there. What can I do for you wandering adventurers?"
Well, you have information from what we've been told, and we were hoping to pry some of it from you.
Oh, well, you are in luck. I am the town historian.
Excellent.
You may call me Morty. Many of the locals call me Old Morty, although I think I'm far too young to be considered Old Morty. But, we're all friends here. Please feel free to call me whatever you like. Just don't call me late for dinner.
This is Kara,
Kara.
I'm-
He bows very courtly at you.
and I am Callistay.
Callistay.
We are looking to investigate the tower on the edge of town, the light that comes forth from it.
Ah, I see. And what would you like to know about this tower that you
Well-
don't already know?
We'll give you the basis of what we do understand. Perhaps you could fill in some of the details.
Very well then.
From what we understand, the tower was the home of a couple. The children lived far away, didn't come to visit.
Well, sort of. They didn't really have children.
Okay. The old man passed,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and the woman followed a few years later. After
About 10 years. Yes. Okay.
deteriorating into madness.
Many of the locals say that she was senile. Some of them were definitely more polite and said that she was eccentric. But to be honest, from what I've been able to read of the various tomes, she was quite mad, especially towards the end.
How long ago was it that they lived in that tower?
Well, she passed about 40 years ago.
So it's been some time since it's been inhabited.
Yes. Technically, its deed is over here, and he goes over and he flips through like a drawer with like a card system in it, kind of like the old Dewey Decimal System card type thing. Kind of flips through it, looks at a card, is like, yes, and then he goes over to a series of cubbies in the back, and then pulls out what looks like a large, what do they call those books? Like a record-keeping books. Anyway,
A ledger of some
ledger. Pulls out like a ledger, and it comes out, and he pops it down in front of you and flips through it, and here, as you can see, here's the deed for it. Currently, the land is owned by the kingdom, but no one has attempted to purchase or lay claim to it since the passing of the old woman.
What were their names? Is that noted on the deed?
Yeah. Her name was Ethel Richmond,
Okay.
and his name was Martin.
Richmond.
Hmm.
And the blue light that comes forth from the tower, that didn't start until after they both passed?
Oh, that didn't start until about 10 years ago.
Oh, so
Well-
not...
Well, technically, it hasn't been quite 10 years yet. And he closes up the ledger very neatly, spreading out the pages, and goes back and sets it on the shelf. No, the blue light didn't start showing up until almost 10 years ago.
So they're
So
not
it
correlated.
had been 30 years after she had passed.
So not likely to be her spirit.
Well, who knows? There are rumors, some that say that they have heard a weeping woman wandering through the murky mire and
We have
calling
heard the
out for
light-
her missing husband.
We have heard the light been referred to as the woman.
Oh, were you speaking to the black children?
Well, they seem pale of skin to me.
No, that's their name.
Tessa and Liam?
Yes.
Was that the boy's name?
Tessa and Liam Black. Sad story, those two.
What happened?
Well, about 2 years ago, specifically 2 winters ago, the town had a rather horrible and disastrous sickness, a fever that ran through, and many people died of the illness. Others, well, let's just say there were those that were a little bit more panicked by the spread of the disease, and some homes may have burned down prior to the residents having fully expired from their illness.
So it wasn't necessarily that they thought the family was doing witchcraft. They just thought to rid the town of the disease?
Well, yes. There was the Black family was not the only one that suffered from the illness. The Lillys, Mr. Lilly, actually, his wife died of the fever, along with his eldest son. He just has his daughter left in his family. And then, of course, there was a couple of others. All in all, not to go into too many details, but there was probably 24 people that died that winter of the fever.
So everyone lost
Well,
someone.
I should say, of the fever. There was 3 specific burnings of houses that, as I said, the occupants may not have been completely expired.
Had they contracted the fever at all?
Or was it just out of fear trying to stop the disease?
The records are vague.
Sure.
To be honest, some of them were burned and lost in a fire.
When did the...
I have been keeping the records most of my life.
Yeah.
But, as I said, that was a particularly bad winter, and things did not get kept as well as they should.
That was 2 winters ago?
Yes.
Did anyone...
Now, I'm assuming that since you two are adventurers, you're more interested in what kind of treasure or goods that might be lurking or hidden within the old house.
Yes and no. One of our other adventurers in our group wants to, if there's any harm going on or the light is, a threat, he feels obligated to.
Well, to be completely honest, unless people go there, they don't encounter anything. So many of the people here just say leave well enough alone. You go sneaking your nose into other people's business, you're bound to get it smacked.
If we were to want to go to the tower, do you think, is it easy enough to find, or?
Oh, yes, of course. And he kind of walks over, follow me. He walks kind of through a beaded curtain into a back area, through what you guess is kind of his living area. He lives in the back of this shop. And kind of past a nice little tea set that's set next to the fire and everything, in a big cushy chair, in very, very ornate, cushy purple velvet chair, to a large window that's, he pulls the curtain open and it overlooks the marsh. And he's like, if you look over there, it's kind of hard to see with all the rain, but if you look over there and just slightly up, you can see it from here.
Okay. Do you know how many days walk that would be?
Well, it's only
Maybe a half a day?
maybe, if you can make your way through some of the more hidden and discreet trails through the marsh. I have seen or heard of adventurers going there and it taking them days to reach it, because once you get down into the marsh and the lingering fog and the overhanging branches and everything, it's very easy to lose your way.
Yeah.
Visibility is not very good in the marsh.
I toyed with the possibility of hiring the older boy, Liam, as a guide.
You could do worse as a guide. The boy and his sister live outside of what is known as the proper town, and they spend a lot of time out there in the marsh.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, he owns a small boat that you could use, one of the flat bottom marsh boats you push with a pole. I have no interest in going out there. It's muddy and damp, and there's snakes and all manner of things. I just have no interest in going out there.
Is there anything of interest that would be in the tower that you would be interested in?
Oh, it is my understanding that the lady of the house had a very extensive collection of books and scrolls and texts on rare and unique plants. She was a bit of a botanist, you could say.
Excellent. Well, if we come across any that are still intact, I will keep you in mind.
Oh, very well, very well. But, again, I can tell you a few things that are listed in the old woman's will.
She had a will. I thought
She
you
did.
said they had no children.
She didn't. She left, as I said, she was quite mad at the end. And she did leave things to her children, except none were ever found. And
No children?
there were
Or no...
children. No relatives to speak of at all. And there were no names of the children. The list just merely says, "To my children, I bequeath the entirety of the property." And then there's a list of items as well that are specifically to go to them.
Could we see the list of items?
Of course, of course.
One could assume that by giving her property to her children, if she was a botanist and felt strongly about plants, that
It's quite possible. As I said, she was she was just very nutty.
as a crazy person myself, I resent that resemblance.
He goes over and he goes back to his little cards, flips through some things, then goes to another cubby, pulls out a scroll case, kind of brings it over, opens it up, and pulls out a document. On the list of things, along with the house, the island that the house resides upon, there is a number of basically it kind of lists all of my library, the crystal of Cathar, the staff of Veneer, and the wand of Porthras.
Can I make an intelligence check to see if I recognize any of the artifacts' names?
Sure, but I also recommend you write them down.
I mean, I guess. The wand of Porthos.
Porthras.
Porthos. The staff of... I'm gonna guess something if I don't hear it again. Sorry.
Veneer.
Vimir?
Veneer.
Vin-rur. Okay. That doesn't work. Vin. Vin. Okay. And the wand, the staff. What was the third one?
The crystal of Cathar.
Crystal. Crystal. Okay.
And a wealth of gold and silver and jewels.
Excellent. All right. Would that be an intelligence or an arcana?
Arcana.
13. It was a shitty roll, so.
Yeah. You don't recognize any of them.
But I'm intrigued. So there's that. So, she listed all those things and she left them to her children. And you said, do you know anything of the adventuring party or the scout party that followed up on them?
Oh no, I was very, very young at that time.
Fair enough.
Their names were never listed.
Interesting. Who was the records keeper before you?
My uncle, of sorts.
And were you born and raised here?
I was born here, and then I went abroad to study, and about 20 years ago I returned.
Where did you study at?
Oh, I studied in a lot of different places. I went to Venetia and studied in various libraries and galleries and what have you there. I spent a very small time in Diora. I would not recommend staying there for long. It is dreadfully dreary. Mind you, this place isn't a lot better, but the people and faces are friendly. And then, of course, in the capital, I stayed here as well.
Well, I appreciate the time that you've given us and the information. And
You have been quite silent, though.
I'm just trying to think if it's worth it to go out there for a bunch of books and scrolls.
Well, it depends on what you're interested in.
Money.
Well, there is
Wealth?
supposedly a
Wealth of gold?
vast fortune
Yeah, but
somewhere within the...
somewhere within there. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm only after money. I have motives. I would like to buy a ship and be a ship's captain. That's my goal.
Oh. Well, in that case, I would recommend leaving this town immediately. The best that you'll purchase here is a fishing vessel.
Oh, no. I'm not going to purchase a boat here. I'm just trying to raise the money for it. So, but the scrolls and books are useful to my companion.
quite.
So,
And
And it
books
states
are worth
clearly
money.
that there
Books
is
are-
money there.
yeah.
So,
Do you think that the boy would take us over there? Liam, do you think?
Well, he does have himself and his sister to support, so it would never hurt to ask.
True. True.
Of course, you'd probably have to go to his home to find him.
And he lives a couple miles out of town.
Yes, just to the northeast
Okay. Well,
a little bit.
we could go ask
It's just
him.
off the main road, so
Yeah.
if you follow the main road, you'll get there eventually.
Yeah, I was talking to him earlier. He seems like a nice kid. We're talking about his brambleberry roots and such like that.
He is very, very talented when it comes to his knowledge of the local area. I imagine it's mostly out of necessity more than anything else, but
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we're gonna need help through the swamp with how swamps can be. I know the sea and the ocean. I don't know swamps.
well, no offense to you, but it's my understanding that you come from a swamp of sorts.
yes. Different from this swamp, still a swamp.
So you won't be completely unaware and out of sorts when you go.
True.
Don't like the snakes or the frogs.
I don't plan to.
Frogs. Now, if you'll excuse me, it is almost my dinner time, and I would like to get back to my story.
Thank you again for your time and patience.
Well, if there's anything else that you determine that you need to know, or just wish to visit for a time, please come on by. I very rarely get any kind of visitors.
I'm gonna.
The people here are not much in the way of readers.
I'm gonna reach in my bag and grab a bottle of wine and kind of offer it and like,
That is very kind of you.
pretty good.
Just like, this is definitely worth more than the meager information that I provided you. But I will accept this humbly.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for the information.
And then he kind of shoos you guys out the door.
Pull up my clothes a little bit. I mean, I don't have a cloak or anything, do I? No, I don't. I just have.
You might purchase one if you're going to spend any time inland.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
Meanwhile, you are making
Yep.
your way towards the local blacksmith shop. You can hear the hammering at a great distance as you're moving through the town. The constant ping, 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 and you can, as you get closer, you can smell the soot and smoke from the coal fires of the forge, and you enter into a kind of a building that has kind of a shuttered front. Instead of having like regular doors or whatever, the entire front of the building kind of opens up and allows airflow and everything. And you see in here is mostly a raised stone floor with a hearth in the center of it, a anvil kind of mounted to a rather large block of stone that's just kind of sitting there. Various tools and everything about, and mostly you see things that he's crafted, horseshoes and various iron tools and the like, things that would sell easily within this town. But as you approach, you see this gentleman, very typical of a blacksmith. Broad shoulders, thick arms, kind of a thick lamb chop kind of styling to his facial hair, but otherwise is mostly just kind of scruffy, but mostly smooth. His hair is cut very short. You see a number of scars kind of across the top of his head and everything through the very short hair. Kind of a light auburn, not quite red, but not quite brown hair color, and deep brown eyes. But he's just kind of hammering. He's got some thick leather gloves on. He's currently hammering away at what looks to be looks like he's forging a pick, like a mining pick, which would be odd around here because you don't know of any place around here that would have a mine that you would pick through stone or anything like that through. But as you approach, he's like, "Oh there,
Hello?
stranger in town. What? And by the looks of you, an adventurer. I'm going to be honest, I don't have much in the way of adventuring gear. I can provide you with some of the basics, grappling hooks, iron spikes, hammers and tools that you might need, a good solid crowbar. But as far as weapons and armor goes, my selection is fairly minimal. But I do have some, and you are welcome to look through the store and see if anything is useful to you."
Yeah, I was looking to see if you had any splint armor available.
Splint armor. Kind of goes, he's like, "Honestly, I don't. I have chain and scale, and, well, I do have a kind of an old set of breastplate."
Well, yeah, none of that it would suit my needs, so...
Well, sorry.
No.
Now, I suppose that if you're going to be in town for a while, I could make you something. But it does take a while, depending on what you want. If you're looking specifically for splint, then it won't take too long, about a week.
And I'm not sure if I'll be in the area for that long, so... What's with the pick? I didn't know there were any mines or quarries in the area.
Well, not really. It's kind of odd. There was a request for one. I haven't made one in, well, since I was an apprentice. But yeah, there was a request for a pick, and so I took the coin and started making it. Yeah, actually.
Interesting.
A pick, a shovel, and some iron-bound buckets. Large ones. And a block and tackle. Which, honestly, make several of those around here. Quite handy on the fishing boats.
I mean, it would probably be too much to pry into who it was, but
Well, might be a little bit, to be honest. He didn't really say it was a secret, but it seems like it would be best to just assume that I would adhere to their privacy.
still, it does seem like a somewhat odd request.
Oh, no, I agree.
Well, thank you for your time. I'll let you get back to your work. I don't really have much else I need to acquire at this point. So,
Well, all right then. Well, if you change your mind about the armor, let me know.
Thank you.
Kind of goes back to working the bellows and getting the forge hot as he puts the chunk of iron back into the fire to heat it up some more.
Okay.
So you two approach the tailor. As you get closer, you see that there's very dim light currently inside. There is a wooden sign in the window that still says open, but you can see that there's a gentleman inside and an older gentleman and an older woman kind of bustling about, going through the process of what looks like they might be preparing to close up.
I'm gonna kind of,
Let's get inside quickly.
peek my head in and say, would you mind if we stepped in for a moment to speak with you?
And the woman kind of pokes her head up, looks at the two of you oddly, because both of you are very curious individuals, and she's like, sure, come on in. And she kind of huddles over closer to what you assume is her husband. Her husband's like, come on now. And kind of shrugs it off. Be kind to strangers. Please, come in. What can we do for you?
My name is Callista. This is Wensu. We were wondering if you would be interested in purchasing some fine silk today.
Well, that's a kind of an oddity. Normally we sell things to other people. But tell you what, show me what you have.
Alright. So I'm gonna pull out like one of the bolts of silk and kind of roll it out a little so he could see it.
He's like, oh, kind of runs it through his fingers and everything. And she kind of comes over and seems very nervous and gives you guys kind of like straight up stink eye. Like she is pretty much certain that you're here to cause nothing but trouble. But her husband is checking out the silk and she kind of goes over. She kind of, yeah, it seems nice.
As I walk over by her, it's nice, right? Behind her from the side.
She jumps and moves around to the other side of her husband, and you hear her whisper. She whispers it, but very obviously you can hear her. It's like, just purchase it so they go away. He's like, oh, you need to learn to be a little bit more tolerant of people coming into our town.
I know
She's
we're a bit of an oddity here. Most certainly, but we heard that you make some rather dapper.
I do make some very fine clothing, and
I believed that this could help you in your.
he's like, well, show me what else you have here.
So we'll pull out the rest of the bolts of silk and kind of set them next to each other.
These are very nice. We wouldn't normally get this quality of fabric into a town like this. How much are you hoping to get for it? Per bolt, of course. I don't know if silk it's not necessarily going to sell a lot of it, but I might be able to push it on a few of my more fashion-forward customers.
Did I already do
No one checked the silk yet. I
No.
don't think.
Yeah, I thought we did. It was.
No.
Mm-hmm.
We only did the wine and the pearls.
Wine and pearls.
You can roll now to check
yeah,
it.
can you?
Yep.
Yeah. Just an intelligence check. This isn't normally something a rogue would steal, so it'd just be a straight intelligence check.
Okay.
I think you did it good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 22.
Well, 22?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably about 10 gold pieces a bolt.
So
Lean and whisper that to her real quick.
It would probably, like, from an actual, like, dealer, you would probably pay more for it,
Mm-hmm.
but to sell, obviously, the sell price is lower than what you would be buying it for.
Yeah.
I'm gonna whisper to Wensu a little bit, kind of discreetly. Should we, offer it for a bit more so that we get our desired price? just come with the 10.
Mm-hmm.
We'd like to get about 10 gold pieces per bolt, if that's okay with you. It is
And
rather
how many were
nice.
you trying to sell? 6?
6. You don't need to purchase all, but purchase what you'd like.
He's like, kind of looks over them. He's like, well, this is some good stuff.
I can guarantee this isn't going to be coming in anytime soon. We had found it out on an adventure, so.
Oh, you kind of thought you'd probably be adventuring types. All right, I'll give you 10 gold apiece for them.
All 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
He goes to walk around behind the counter, and the wife notices that he's moving away, quickly kind of follows along, goes around behind the counter. He takes out a bag and starts counting out coins. He's like, comes back, I only have 55 gold. And I know you're asking for a total of 60.
55 is fine.
That's fine.
That's very generous. Thank you.
Alright, I'll hand you the gold coins and takes the bundles of silk. He's like, I tell you what, why don't you just take these in the back? And she's like, fine. Kind of grabs them, like,
They're linen fresh
As we're leaving, I know.
for at least the next 30 minutes.
Does he have a? Does he make hats?
yeah. He actually has a variety of different hats in here. Some top hats and some of the,
How about like a wide brim hat with a feather?
yeah.
You know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And I'll ask him how much he's asking for that.
That, that particular hat, feathers was hard to come by here, so 2 gold.
So I'll hand him 2 gold for the back.
And very nice. Pulls the hat down, kind of takes a little brush, and like brushes it off and everything, and hands it to you.
Pop my hat in my head. And off we go.
All right.
And I tip the hat to him as we're leaving.
You fine folk have a wonderful evening.
You as well. Thank you for your time.
Now it's my little trot the feather.
Right. So you guys wind up meeting back up at the tavern, or sorry, at the inn, the Wilted Lily. The inn is kind of emptied out a little bit. There's not quite as many people in here at this point. Even though it is dinner time, with the weather being what it is, most of the locals have decided to just kind of go home to eat. But there are still a couple of people in here. Sam is still sitting on the same bar stool. The innkeeper is sitting kind of back behind the bar, just kind of chatting with him, while the barmaid is actually going about. She's sweeping. There's a couple of other customers off to one side. He looks to be like a young couple, possibly kind of courting, as they're just kind of eating food and chatting nicely with one another near one of the windows. So that leaves pretty much the whole area of near the fireplace and everything open for you guys to sit at if you want.
I will definitely be going towards the fireplace to try out.
Okay.
All right.
Same. Are we all gathering back at the same time, roughly?
Yeah. I'll get back I'm with her, so. Yeah. Try and find a table that's close to the hearth if there is one. Turn it so I'm facing the doorway and basically start poring over the tablet, filling the
Okay.
time until the rest of the party arrives.
Right. So what are you doing over here?
Working on trying to decode it, basically.
Oh, okay.
Like, can I ask one question? I'm gonna ask one question.
Okay.
Will it translate into English?
Yes.
Fuck. Okay.
Why is that a bad thing?
Because there's this one bastard right here that's off by itself.
Yeah, sometimes
So-
sentences can end with I, for instance. Some like weird phrasings of things.
Or they're not separated into paragraphs, which is another thought that I had. basically this is artistic embellishment, not actually a separation of the scripts.
Can we take a break real quick?
Yeah.
Pee, coffee.
You fall asleep.
A little bit, sorry. It's been a long day. Try to hang in there.
I mean, your,
All right, so
your
we're gonna take a
child
break.
got a black eye.
All right, so you guys
Ian
have.
actually has to get up early in the morning too. So.
So you guys gather back together inside the inn. I'm assuming you guys are going to divvy up your loot and everything at this point,
Got one.
and then discuss the various bits of information that you've gathered with the rest of the party. Though technically, a couple of you didn't really get much in the way of information, but still a little bit. What?
She's anxious for her earnings.
I didn't
man.
say that.
She's
I
staring
I didn't say
at
anything.
Oh,
Wait till he's finished with his descriptions.
but so as you are sitting there at the table, once you sit down, the barmaid will go over and gather up, basically put the broom away and go get some bread and some cheeses and stuff. Get you drinks based off of what you've been drinking already since you've been here. You just kind of bring them out to the table and say, well, warm up. And I'm assuming you guys are going to want your rooms for tonight?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'll go make sure that they're cleaned up. If you need any food or anything, just bother my father over there. And her dad's like, I got it. Go on. It's not like we're busy. And with that, she kind of bustles her way up the stairs to the rooms and everything.
How did selling everything go?
Moderately well. We got a decent amount for the bottles of wine. We still have quite a few left over.
11.
That's
Quite
good.
a few.
What?
11 still left over.
We could find another place to sell should we like to.
10 because he bought 9 of them.
He bought 9 technically.
Yeah, the one he tested,
He
then he
sampled
bought
out.
the other 8.
Steve's like, ah,
What's
man.
my thing?
Yeah, he bought 1 for 2
One
gold
for
piece and then
10.
8 for 10.
Okay.
It's not bad to have extra
Math.
wine around. Just saying.
And then the silk, he bought all of it. For what we were expecting, but then he was short gold pieces, and so because he offered to buy all of it, it was fine. He was short only 5.
Sounds like it was a prosperous trip for you guys to sell things.
Mm-hmm.
13 gold and 4 silver as I slide them out to.
13 gold.
But wait, we have that platinum piece.
Somebody probably bought it
Yeah.
when you pay it out like that.
Okay. So 13 gold, you said?
Mm-hmm.
How many silver?
4.
4 silver.
It's important, John. We can't go shopping if we don't have our money first.
Winston kept the platinum piece. Winston bought it.
It's his new precious.
So you went to the tailor?
Yes.
Like my new hat?
Oh, I do. I do like your hat.
How many silver?
4.
I need to buy a cloak. Maybe you can show me where that tailor is tomorrow.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe get some fresh,
You could have a silk
actually
cloak made.
adventuring gear.
A silk cloak. Although I probably need something to protect me against the cold and wet of the marsh.
Silk lined.
Silk line would be nice. Very nice.
I'm sure the tailor would be very happy to make some.
Maybe I'll pick myself up a hat like that too. Or similar. I guess you can have be the only one with a hat like that.
Mm-hmm. Tis Wency's hat.
It's one. It's a good hat.
He's very proud of it.
Alright, so with the we spoke with the book merchant.
How did that go?
Well, it's possible that the blue light is the spirit of the woman. Apparently she is rumored to wander the swamp and claims to be looking for her lost husband, her missing husband. The ghost didn't show up until about 10 years ago. The woman died 40 years ago. So
How does one lose husband after they've been dead?
it may be that someone broke in. Maybe they stole something that was important to him. His spirit is no longer there. Spirits are not my domain. He's a paladin. He's got religion.
She's in a place of dead people.
That's not very nice to say about my cousins.
Accurate.
Well, we found out their names too. They
Mocks
were
me for not flying.
named
That's your
Ethel
own
and
fault.
Martin
Richmond.
and but the tower's been uninhabited for a long time. But there's supposed to be treasure there, and books and scrolls.
Good to know.
It is noted in their will that they left their everything to their children, but there's no children listed. They didn't have children.
Unless they had cats.
People are weird about their cats.
Animals.
Familiars.
She was a wizard and a botanist at that.
And there have been rumors of strange plants,
That are
Plant
apparently
creatures.
plant creatures.
alive.
Yes.
Yes.
They could easily be considered her children in her mad mind, I suppose.
Yeah, why would she show up 20 years later?
30.
Is it 30?
It's
10 years. Well, yeah,
10
30
years
years
ago.
ago.
30 years
10
later.
years.
She
40
died
then.
40 years ago.
Oh, she died 40. I thought she died 30 years ago. So why the 30-year difference?
Maybe someone disturbed the tower. When was that excursion again?
The excursion to
The
The
last
scouts.
group that
The
went
scout.
out that didn't come back.
Yeah.
shortly after the deaths, if I remember correctly, 40 years ago.
So there wasn't a more recent one?
People
Never.
just don't go
Not
there.
That's so
listed,
no
at
one's
least.
aware of.
Yeah. There are no records of it.
What else did you learn?
The there was the two children that were here earlier, the boy and his sister. They lost most of their family 2 winters ago to a fever that took quite a bit from the town.
24 people.
Wow.
Yeah, for a small town, that's a big hit.
Why so many? Like, just the fever ravaged? Or?
It was during the winter, and it's hard to stop a fever.
And you haven't seen any like temples in this town. So there's a good chance that there's no
Healer.
clerics.
I would imagine, though, there has to be someone in town that knows something about healing or
Some
even
sort of-
botany or anything.
I mean, there probably is, but
More than
for
likely,
major
it's just
diseases,
herbal medicine and home remedies at this point. It seems like a small enough town they wouldn't have a designated healer.
Yeah.
Though we can ask.
Yeah, it's interesting that the spirit has just showed up in the last 10 years. I wonder if there's anyone who knows.
Was there any major things that happened within,
Well,
like, about 10 years ago?
did I notice? Well, you were sitting at the table when you said something to the girl, and she gave you the funky stare.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps the kids got into the tower 10 years ago.
Why do you say that?
Or the one,
The boy might have. The girl herself wouldn't have been old enough.
she was old enough to have appeared at that
As
time.
like a magical creature? It's possible.
You say you got weird feeling from her.
Yeah.
Did anyone cast detect magic while they were here?
There are only 2 of us that can do that.
I was
As you
into-
asked.
No. I was eating my dinner.
Actually, you didn't say you got weird feeling. But he said you got weird things. So that's me out of character, I guess. So I've never known that.
No, it
She
makes
said
sense now.
Maybe you looked over as well and got the weird feeling.
And all his feathers ruffled up like.
Well, it might be a good idea to go talk to Liam and Tessa and see if they know anything else?
They're definitely not going to speak with us about any information as of right now. They're very guarded.
They will if we persuade them.
And give them more.
Jeez.
What kind of persuasion are you thinking of over there, Kara? 'Cause
Well, I
Now the important question here is, what's your alignment?
So much for pure of heart.
Beating children.
what do you know?
You don't want to fall down the stairs again, do you?
Well, she was raised on a ship. You know, the beatings will continue until morale improves.
It's true.
You do your job or you get whipped. Some lashings. Well, the other question is, do we want to attempt to go into the swamp alone, or do we want to see if we can get Liam to guide us there?
I definitely believe we should have some sort of guide. And if we get on their good side while they're guiding us, we could get more information out of them.
I'm not sure if he takes his sister into the swamp with him. She may stay home.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine he'd take his little sister with him.
No, but
Maybe. Put her in the cart with the pig.
I
they
didn't
seem
think
like
to
they
ask
don't
how
really
many other
separate.
siblings there were.
They
If
don't.
it was just the two of them.
They don't seem like they separate.
Mm. True.
At one point, didn't he say he provides for his sister though? And he didn't mention any other siblings.
No, but
Morty.
their family died
No, I'm
when they
just
were sick. So.
out of character, but
Hmm?
out of character really quick. But like,
Mm.
didn't they? He mentioned when we were talking about like if we were to get him as a guide. Morty mentioned. Well, he has to provide for his sister.
Mm.
So it seems
Yeah,
like
there's a
only
good chance they
one.
would have mentioned other siblings, I suppose.
Anyways, back in character.
What are you guys going to do now?
What time is it?
Do you have that tablet out?
It's
and you're
like
looking at it for like on the
6
table again?
in the
or
evening.
Are you hiding?
I'm studying it, yeah.
I'm
Have you had
gonna.
any luck with that?
No, do you actually pull it out at the table?
Yeah.
Okay, so you pull it out at the table, and the whole area lights up with this kind of eerie green light as the tablet just kind of lights up the space around you. And the whole tavern just kind of goes silent as they're like, what in the hell is going on? And you can, as you lay it down on a table, it just kind of vibrates and hums against the table itself. And it's kind of loud.
Did you?
In the current silence of the room, it stands out.
You should put that away.
Yeah, I think that would be best studied in more private quarters.
I'm gonna get up and like pull the drift globe out of my bag and just kind of distract everyone. Like, oh, look at this, and I'm gonna say illuminate because that's my
Okay.
word. And
All right. So it's like poof, and this like golden light. So there's like this weird area of like this kind of like green light, and then there's like this yellow gold light off to the other
and
side.
I'm gonna look at you and be like, put it away.
If I take it off the table, does it still buzz?
It vibrates very lightly, but it doesn't. It's not vibrating against the table.
So it's not making
But the green
buzz.
light.
Can I cast prestidigitation to dim the light?
You can certainly try.
Okay. I'll try and cast prestidigitation to dim the light.
It actually has no effect.
Interesting. I'm all excited, so I'll put it back in the thing.
Give me a perception check.
Tablet keys,
Natural 20. 22.
You hear a slight chuckle.
Yes, I love sentient items. Okay.
Is it from the item itself, though?
You're not
Oh.
sure.
It's probably John, honestly, but yeah. Alright.
So you just put it away, or
Before I put it away, I do want to cast prestidigitation again, but rather casting it on the tablet, I want to create an illusion that's an exact duplicate of the tablet. Visually speaking.
I'd say that would be a minor illusion, not
Yeah.
prestidigitation.
Yeah, you can cast minor illusion with prestidigitation.
Oh, can you?
I'll read it to you.
No, I'll take your word for it. I haven't really looked at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can create a minor illusion. that appears to look like the tablet.
Okay. And then I'll put the tablet away.
Okay.
What made you think it was a good idea to bring the glowy tablet out in front of everyone here?
It needs to be solved. I wanted something interesting.
So after a little bit, everybody just kind of goes back to doing what they were doing. There's only like 4 other people in here with the.
I'll grab my globe, and so it shuts off, and kind of put it away and
Okay.
look over here. Callista, is it? And just kind of shake my head.
Yes.
Please pay attention.
Callista, you're Callista.
Yeah,
You guys
there's 2 of
needed
us.
to change.
I had mine first. I had my character rolled up days in advance.
Anyway, I'm gonna go over to the bartender and order some food. She said that he could take care of that for us.
Yeah.
Some
So,
dinner.
all right. So you go over there, and he's like, "What can I get for you, ma'am?"
Just whatever special you had. Do
Yeah.
you have any of the brambleberry roots cooked up for dinner?
Oh no, I got them soaking. I can prepare some of those tomorrow, though, if you'd like.
Yeah. I would like to try them tomorrow. Liam
Alright.
said that he got some really good ones.
He does bring in some good stuff.
Yeah.
He's a good kid.
Yeah.
Sister's a little odd, but he's a good kid.
We went to go see Morty today.
Oh, how's Morty doing?
He's an interesting character. I gave him one of our bottles of wine. He seemed to appreciate it.
Yeah, I imagine he would. He's definitely the type to appreciate a good bottle of wine.
Does he ever come in here?
On occasion, when there's a celebration or some sort of festival in town, he comes in here, and he does come in here from time to time for a meal.
Well, I'll let him know that you have more of the wine if he wants to come back and get some more.
All right.
I was curious about the sign over the hearth.
He kind of looks at it. He's like, "Oh, that thing? Yeah, I got it back when I was in the military.
Mm.
It's a gift from the Queen.
Very cool. How long did you serve in the military?
15 years.
And then
Did that, and then got injured. Got out of the military. Just came back to take over the family inn. Just kind of been doing that for a while. Besides, I felt it would probably be better to raise my daughter in a smaller town, get away from the capital.
Yeah. Morty was telling us about a couple of winters ago and the illness. I'm very sorry to hear about your family.
He kind of gets a little bit more somber look upon his face and everything. He's like, that was a bad winter. Bad winter for a lot of people.
Sounds like it. Well, it sounded like Liam had lost most of his family also.
You see, he and Sam just kind of to look at one another, and Sam just kind of looks away. He's like, "Yeah, that was. There was a lot of tragedy that winter, like I said."
Well, I'm sorry for the town's loss. I'm sure that was too many people to lose in 1 year.
Yeah, I agree.
Kind of wipe my sleeve on my eye and say, "All right, well, thanks for the food." I'll go back to the table.
I'll send it out here shortly. And he goes back into the kitchen.
Alright. So, now that we've found out a bit more, there's nothing else really to do at this time of day other than if we'd like to go back and see if there are any merchants open, but I doubt that.
I don't think so with the storm and
Yeah,
time of day it is.
Yeah, everything's pretty much closed at this point.
I'm gonna eat and dry off all the way and drink some wine.
You and your wine.
All right. So, is there anything that anybody else is going to do this evening?
You said there's no temples in town.
No.
Is there an alchemist, herbologist, potion maker?
There's an herbalist.
Herbalist. Okay. Would she sell potions?
Maybe.
How long would it take for me to copy that script onto a piece of paper for her?
Probably not very long.
So, and you have that.
You could
illusion
actually
stuff?
probably take a piece of parchment and a piece of charcoal and just do a rubbing
rubbing.
of it.
Like in the room or something.
Well, I'm saying 'cause she has the illusion out right now. So
Yeah.
if I were to come over, that's what I'll do. I'll kind of like walk up behind her as she's doing that. I'm gonna pull some stuff out. I'll start copying it down really quickly,
Okay.
and then I just hand her a piece of parchment with all of it written down on it.
That'll be most helpful. Thank you.
Good thinking.
Yeah.
Now
A
you
smart
don't
bird.
have to. Now you don't have to bring that scary thing out anymore.
But it's sparkly.
Yes. Some sparkly kills things.
Indeed.
I think that saying bird brain is wrong. Thinking about it. No offense. No offense.
She's drunk.
Roll the dice. See if we're getting drunk.
But yeah, use my.
Alright, so you copy it down.
As for tonight, before we go to bed, I will probably try and, I don't want to, but I'll put this away because I think I've figured out a new spell, and I want to copy out a scroll for that.
Hmm?
I want to make a scroll of one of my spells.
Okay.
So, actually, that'd probably have to wait until tomorrow, wouldn't it?
It'd take you all day.
It only takes 4 hours.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, that'll be my plan for tomorrow. Then I'll just keep fucking with this until bedtime.
Alright. So then you guys, I guess, at that point, you guys kind of eventually wander off to your rooms and go to sleep.
Yeah, one thing that I want to do beforehand is go outside of town, find a nice peaceful spot out in the nature, and actually affirm my oath of the ancients.
Okay. So,
gonna talk
do
to
you want to
trees.
go basically follow the road north? Or you're going to stay kind of. Because that's pretty much the only way out of town. Other than to basically just kind of go off one of the ramps down into the marsh itself.
Well, just somewhere. I don't have to be that far out of town.
Well,
just somewhere where there's like.
Well, it just
big
matters
trees.
as to where you're going.
I guess just the main road
Okay.
out, and not too far off the road either.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you follow the main road up a little bit. It's probably about a mile to get actually out of town itself. I mean, there's mostly like some like outlying homes and stuff that kind of lay out in that area. But to actually get completely out of town, you'd have to go about a mile down the road. And as you do so, you get out there a little ways and then you kind of go off the road a little bit. And there is a small grove of trees. The ground here is a bit up, not quite. It's a little bit of a rise, but it's not too tall. Maybe about 10 feet above the water line. But there's a big, huge like grouping and cluster of trees. And you kind of go up there and you can do your thing.
Right. Yeah, there's not really a specific oath that says in the book or anything, so just say some appropriate words. I don't really have myself. I don't have the words to say, so it's just gonna be
Okay.
a thing I do.
Paladin type stuff. How often do you have to do that?
It's basically just kind of role playing out at third level. I pick my oath, so I basically affirm that I say the words of the path I take. So it's really just a one-time thing.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, I want to follow the oath, but actually going through
This
ritual
symbol.
process is like a one-time thing.
This symbol and this symbol. Are they supposed to be the same?
Yep, they're all the same.
They're the same? Okay, because this one's not touching it. So
Yeah.
double checking. Changes its name completely.
And you're not going to use comprehend languages or anything on it. You're just gonna.
I don't have any spells left for the day.
Can't you do it as a ritual?
I guess, but that would take a while.
10 minutes.
Okay, fine. I cast comprehend languages.
I'm just asking. I'm not saying you have to do it, but
Yeah, after puzzling over for a while and counting up the letters and everything, I will cast comprehend languages to see if I can translate this.
you're going to try
spell.
to do it on your illusion or on the tablet.
On my illusion.
Alright, so you cast it, and the illusion just winks out of existence. And again, you hear a little.
I don't want to risk doing that to the notes that he made for it.
Okay.
But once I get up to my room, I'm going to try and cast it again.
Alright, so you go. Everybody's kind of gone off to their rooms. You went off to do your thing in the woods, and you go up to your room and you pull out the tablet and lay it out on a little table there by the bed, and you begin preparing the ritual to cast this spell, comprehend languages, and you're kind of going through it, and finally you release that energy and cast it, and your eyes kind of begin to focus on the various runes and everything, and they kind of flash in this like kind of greenish blue light that kind of emanates from the runes, and they slowly begin to change and alter as though the words are going from this weird alphabet that you don't comprehend to something more akin to common. And as you're kind of looking at it, give me a will save. Wisdom saving throw.
Let's have it in it. Nice. 7.
Alright, so
Pathfinder
all of a
didn't
sudden
bring.
you're just like, there's this flash of blue-green light, and you hear this voice in your head that says, "Nice try, but it won't be that simple. If you wish to find this treasure, you're going to have to work for it. But since you were so eager to know a little bit, and you were so cunning as to try to use magic to do so, I'll give you a little bit of a hint, but it's going to cost you."
Voices in my head are offering to give me things.
And at that point, the voice goes away, and you have this burned into your memory. But you are blind for 24 hours.
Well, we're not adventuring tomorrow. Of course, I don't know that it's only 24 hours.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I've been given part of the answer and now I'm blind.
Forever.
And with that, we'll go ahead and end it for tonight.
That laughing lady. She just keeps laughing at everything we're saying.